The use of devastating weapons caused air pollution to reach catastrophic levels, making survival on the surface impossible. The President of the United States announced that the government's top priority was to ensure the safety of its citizens. However, reporters repeatedly questioned why certain scientists were being hidden in secondary underground bunkers. As usual, government officials avoided answering these questions, leaving the public in the dark. Over time, humanity faced near extinction. To preserve the knowledge necessary for rebuilding civilization, the government placed its most valuable scientists in cryogenic chambers housed in underground facilities. These chambers were designed to keep the scientists in suspended animation until the pollution subsided and the Earth became habitable again. Multiple bunkers were constructed across the country, each overseen by 2 engineers. Their role was to wake up for 2 hours every 6 months to check the systems and ensure everything was running smoothly. In one such bunker, the engineers were Bauer and Cartwright. When it was time for their shift, Bauer woke up first. He felt lightheaded and unsteady at first, but quickly regained his composure. Cartwright, on the other hand, struggled with constant nightmares during his cryogenic sleep. He had a deep fear of confined spaces, which made the experience even harder for him. When Cartwright finally emerged from his chamber, Bauer couldn't resist poking fun at him. Cartwright's cryo chamber was noticeably different from the others, which only added to Bauer's teasing. Despite the jokes, Cartwright brushed it off and joined Bauer at the control station. The two logged into the central computer system to carry out their routine checks. The system confirmed that all the scientists in their bunker were alive and that the equipment was functioning correctly. They also received status updates from other bunkers, which indicated that everything seemed to be in order there as well. Cartwright was relieved to see this, but when they attempted to communicate directly with the other bunkers, they found no response. Finally, they checked the air quality readings outside. Sadly, the data showed that the atmosphere remained highly toxic and unfit for human life. In Cartwright's room, there are photos from his past life. Bauer, being more pessimistic, sticks a piece of tape with the word "Dad" over the faces in Cartwright's photos, reflecting the harsh reality of their situation. However, Cartwright, who is more hopeful, removes the tape. While looking around, Cartwright notices some possible damage in the bunker caused by an earthquake. Cartwright goes to check on the cryogenic chambers, often referred to as sleepers, and heads into the corridor to fix a small issue. There he finds a picture he had hidden behind a board. As he looks at it, he suddenly hears Abby's voice, his lover who is also one of the sleeping scientists. He quickly turns, but it's only his imagination. Despite this, he starts talking to Abby's imagined presence, trying to ease his loneliness. Feeling the need to see her, Cartwright checks Abby's cryo chamber and feels relieved to see her peacefully sleeping. Her shadow flickers near the tank, and he imagines her speaking to him, saying, "Did you tell Bauer about me?" Cartwright replies softly, "I'll tell him when the time is right." Later, Bauer joins him, complaining about the maintenance work on the sleepers. "This feels pointless," Bauer says. "Why waste so much time and effort on them?" But Cartwright firmly replies, "These scientists are the future of humanity. Without them, we have no hope, and soon we'll be going back to sleep for the next 20 shifts." After finishing their tasks, the two relax. They watch old TV recordings and play a game of chess, finding small ways to pass the time in their isolated and routine existence. One day, Cartwright sees Abby again in his mind. She appears before him, saying, "We will meet in sleep," but the thought of entering the cryogenic tank again feels like descending into hell for Cartwright. His anxiety overwhelms him, and Abby, in his imagination, tries to comfort him. Suddenly, a fire breaks out in Cartwright's sleeping pod. Panicked, he shouts for Bauer, who rushes in with a fire extinguisher and puts out the flames. However, the pod is completely destroyed, and Bauer's hand gets injured in the process. As if their bad luck couldn't get worse, the 2-hour timer runs out. The lights switch off, and the air supply is cut off. In the pitch-black room, Cartwright uses a flashlight to find the emergency procedures manual, where "emergency airwell" is written in bold letters. Following the instructions, they climb the stairs to the airwell and manage to restore the oxygen supply temporarily. Exhausted, they retreat to the office to wait for the systems to come back online. During the wait, Bauer opens up about his past, revealing details about his wife and 3 daughters. He explains that the government had forced him into the bunker, leaving his family to die outside. Cartwright listens and tries to console him. Eventually, the power returns, and fresh air begins to flow again, giving them another 2 hours of light and oxygen. While reviewing the manual, they find a note about a spare sleeping pod in the storage room. However, when they check, the storage room is empty. Frustrated but determined, Cartwright studies the bunker's blueprints and notices markings and codes he doesn't recognize. He also spots a room labeled long-term storage. Curious, they head to the room, which is sealed with a simple lock. Breaking the seal, they enter and find a space they've never seen before. Inside is an old locker room with a broken security camera. The room's systems seem disconnected from the rest of the bunker. Bauer speculates that it might have been part of an old military facility. While exploring, Cartwright imagines Abby appearing again. In his mind, she guides them to a box hidden in the room. Opening it, they find a spare cryogenic pod. Relieved, they carry it back and work together to set it up. Once it's ready, Cartwright hesitates to test it, still shaken from the earlier fire. Bauer, however, insists they need to make sure it works, so Bauer agrees to try it. As Bauer lies down in the pod, he notices what seems like air leaking from the system. Cartwright gets out to check the pump, but before he can fix it, the pod activates unexpectedly. The chamber pulls Bauer inside, and he struggles to breathe as the pod malfunctions. Cartwright acts quickly, grabbing a tool to cut into the pod and free Bauer just in time. Bauer angrily scolds Cartwright, shouting, "Why did you take so long? Were you trying to kill me?" Cartwright quickly defends himself, explaining, "I couldn't find a knife to cut the pod. Why would I want to kill you? That pod was meant for me, and now it's destroyed." Bauer, still frustrated, says, "We have no choice. We'll have to sacrifice one of the sleepers and use their tank for you." Cartwright, horrified, responds firmly, "Our job is to protect them, not kill them." But Bauer argues back, "We can only protect them if we both stay alive." Cartwright, shaken but determined, prepares a morphine injection, but then Abby's voice appears in his mind, urging him, "The solution is simple. You don't need to kill anyone." Her words give him pause, and he tells Bauer, "I can't kill anyone. There has to be another way." Bauer, desperate and angry, insists, "This is about survival. We have no choice." The argument escalates, and Bauer even strikes Cartwright in frustration. Cartwright pushes him back and warns, "Stay away from me, or I'll use this injection on you. Now listen to my idea." Reluctantly, Bauer agrees to hear him out. Cartwright explains that Abby's voice reminded him about the blueprints they found earlier. The strange codes on the blueprint match the ones in the computer system. Cartwright believes these codes represent other bunker facilities, and there's a chance one of them might have a spare pod. Bauer is skeptical, pointing out the risks. "What if the other bunkers have air leaks? You could die before you even get there," he warns. But Cartwright is ready to take the risk. He suits up in a helmet and protective gear that provides fresh air and takes a radio so Bauer can guide him using the bunker's security cameras. As Cartwright begins his journey, he reaches the first corridor and is met with a shocking sight, the skeleton of a soldier lying on the ground. With only half an hour left before the next power cut, Bauer works on repairing old monitors in the bunker. Meanwhile, Cartwright ventures into the tunnel where the air is heavily polluted. As he moves forward, Bauer manages to fix the monitors just in time to see Cartwright on an old security camera. Cartwright eventually reaches the entrance to the ABC facility and unlocks the door, but nothing inside seems to be operational. Cartwright tries to open another door deeper inside, but struggles to make any progress. Feeling stuck and frustrated, he hears Abby's voice in his mind, encouraging him to keep going. At the same time, Bauer suggests using the air ducts to access the facility. Although the idea makes sense, Cartwright hesitates. His fear of enclosed spaces makes the thought unbearable. However, knowing it's a matter of survival, he forces himself to do it. Cartwright crawls through the narrow air duct, dragging his body forward. As he moves, he encounters the bodies of those who had died there. The sight unnerves him, but he pushes through, climbing over the remains and continuing further into the duct. Back at the bunker, Bauer suddenly loses radio contact with Cartwright. Worried, he grabs his toolbox to fix the signal issue. While searching for tools, Bauer notices the knife he thought Cartwright had used earlier. Realizing the knife was here all along, doubt creeps into his mind. Why did Cartwright take so long to save me? Was he really trying to kill me? Bauer wonders. To confirm his suspicion, Bauer reviews old footage from the security cameras. He sees a recording of himself struggling inside the pod, in pain, while Cartwright stood nearby, seemingly watching him suffer. The sight shatters Bauer's trust, leaving him hurt and unsure of Cartwright's true intentions. Meanwhile, Cartwright finally reaches the ABC facility. At that moment, the radio signal is restored, and he reconnects with Bauer. However, his relief is short-lived. The facility is in ruins, with everything broken and no survivors in sight. Cartwright discovers a hole in the ceiling of the ABC facility and looks outside, realizing the devastating truth. Nuclear weapons had destroyed the Earth long ago, leaving nothing but ruins. Worse, the sleeping chambers in other facilities are also destroyed. He now understands that the computer reports claiming other bunkers were functional were false. The engineers had been deliberately kept in the the dark to maintain their hope and prevent them from losing their sanity. Cartwright concludes that their facility is the last one remaining, and when he shares this with Bauer, Bauer's trust shatters completely. "I don't trust anyone anymore," Bauer says, angrily putting the dead tape back on the board. Cartwright explores further, haunted by Abby's vision, who reassures him, "You're not alone." However, his oxygen levels begin to drop, and he rushes back toward their bunker. As Cartwright reaches the final corridor, he finds Bauer blocking the door, holding a knife. Bauer, paranoid and convinced that Cartwright is a threat, refuses to listen to his explanations. He reveals a gun he found near a dead soldier and accuses Cartwright of endangering him and the sleepers. Terrified, Cartwright retreats back into the ABC facility to save himself. Abby's voice urges him to escape through the air duct, which leads back to the bunker by another route. While Cartwright crawls through the duct, Bauer contacts him via radio, threatening, "You've broken my trust. Come back now, or you'll die in there." Cartwright ignores him and eventually finds his way back to their bunker. Relieved, he removes his suit and prepares to return to the office. But as Cartwright enters, Bauer ambushes him, firing shots in the dark. The bullets miss, and Cartwright hides behind a door, begging Bauer to stop. Bauer, consumed by paranoia, says, "We're the only survivors on Earth. I'm afraid you'll kill me for my sleeping pod." Using the radio to create echoes, Bauer tries to locate Cartwright, but Cartwright outsmarts him. Leaving behind his torch and radio as a decoy, Cartwright escapes deeper into the bunker, trying to stay one step ahead of Bauer's escalating madness. Cartwright locks himself in the medical area, torn about whether to kill Bauer. Abby's voice in his mind insists, "If you don't kill him, he'll kill you, and I'll lose you." Still hesitant, Cartwright prepares a morphine injection. As Cartwright steps out, Bauer somehow enters the room. Cartwright tries to leave quietly but is suddenly shot in the shoulder. Bauer, shocked by his own actions, hesitates, not wanting to kill Cartwright, whom he still considers a friend. Cartwright explains, "I didn't want to be separated from my wife Abby. That's why I did this." He shows Bauer secret photos of Abby and starts talking to her aloud. Bauer, convinced that Cartwright has lost his mind, takes advantage of the distraction, but Cartwright quickly attacks, knocking the gun away, and escapes. When Bauer sees the photos again, suspicion grows. Checking the sleeper pods, Bauer discovers the truth. Abby is Cartwright's wife, which explains why he was so determined to protect the sleepers. Furious, Bauer threatens to kill Abby. At that moment, Cartwright appears and injects him with morphine. Bauer tries to shoot, but the morphine takes effect, and he collapses. As Cartwright tries to help, Bauer tells him, "There's no time. Get into my pod and take care of your wife." Cartwright reluctantly agrees, rushing to the pod as the countdown reaches 0. Just before falling asleep, he imagines Bauer playing chess one last time. Years later, the sleepers wake up. Abby searches for Cartwright and finds him, now old but alive. She recognizes him immediately and hugs him. The story ends with their reunion, a testament to Cartwright's sacrifices and love.